Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and with me is a man that wants everyone to know that it's a nice day for a white widow, or whatever Billy Idol said.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like some Billy Idol.
Yeah, you got to see Billy Idol.
I did. It was damn good,
not too long ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Me and the wife went down and checked him out. It was a damn good show.
Yeah.
I thought you was going to say Billy Eyelash or Whispering Billy or whatever that chick's name is.
No, this is
Billy, the real stuff.
Yeah, Billy Idol. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Rebel Yell.
What's going on, dude?
Guess.
Same old, same old.
You're damn right. Same old rainbow.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Pretty good day today.
Yeah. Got some cooler weather up here, so it's always nice.
Makes you happy.
Makes me very happy.
Yeah, my daughter was in a pretty bad wreck the other week, and know that she's doing really good and got some good news today, so it's a cheerful time.
It's a good day.
Yeah, it scares the shit out of her when you get a call and your daughter's been in a wreck and rolled a car about 4 times.
Yeah.
She wasn't driving, so yeah.
And it wasn't their fault either.
Wasn't their fault. Some dude come across a white line and hit them head on almost and shoot them out through the field and rolled the car. So
it's always good to get good news.
Whew, yeah, so extremely good news today. So
yeah.
So I'm thankful.
You got any good shout-outs or anybody you want to mention before we get going, dude?
Well, I do have a little bit of thing here. It's not a 5-star podcast review, but it's pretty damn close, if you guess me.
Bring it on.
It is a friend of ours, Stephen Muzinski, and I hope I didn't butcher your name. He joined up to the fans of the Crack House Chronicles Facebook page, and he left us a little note here. It says, "Thank you, Crack House Chronicles. I came across your show when looking for an in-depth analysis of the Dungeons and Dragons murders. You guys have a way of being witty while remaining completely respectful to the families, and that's not so common in true crime."
Well,
so, pretty damn cool.
Very awesome.
We appreciate that, Stephen. Thanks for listening, and thanks for joining up on the Facebook page.
We appreciate it a whole bunch.
Every bit of it.
Dylan, I want to give a shout out to our buddy David James. He's the Bessemer City Chief of Police, and he sent me a text today, and he is a new granddad.
Hey, congratulations, my friend.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's great news.
He's got a new grandbaby, a baby boy. He said that mom and dad is doing well and everybody's great.
Everything went great.
And they're just having a big time right now.
Very cool, man.
So
very cool.
Congratulations, David. I wanted to
yes, sir.
Congratulations on this episode. So it happened today. Well, he sent it to me the day we're recording this, so that way he'll know.
Yeah, it won't be the day you hear it, but it'll be close.
Yeah. But we meant well.
Yeah, and he's a cool guy.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
He's working on some stuff for us, too.
He is. Super cool guy.
Very cool.
Very appreciative of him. Thank you for joining the family, sir.
Anybody else you want to mention before we get going, dude?
No, I guess so, man. Let's just jump in here. Get it going.
Because,
in 2 minutes, probably up.
Yeah. Well, it's actually 3 minutes, but here we go. We got a pretty crazy case, man.
Yeah.
And we're back up in Massachusetts, by the way.
We got stuck in the state, didn't we?
Yeah. It's a state that I can't pronounce.
Yeah. No, who can? I think they just done that. I think they named it on purpose. So
Massachusetts.
So they can just laugh at everybody.
Yeah.
Just put a bunch of letters in there. Somebody will get it.
Yeah.
No offense, fans in Massachusetts.
But we're talking today about Molly Anne Bish.
Like fish, but with a B.
With a B, yeah.
Right.
And just a little bit of background on Molly Bish. She was born on August the 2nd, 1983. And her parents are John Sr. and Maggie Bish.
Mm-hmm.
And her dad, John, he was a probation officer. And her mother was an elementary school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Very cool.
And the family moved from Detroit, Michigan to Warren, Massachusetts.
Right.
And the reason they moved actually was where they were living in Detroit. There had been a kidnapping and a murder on their street.
Yeah.
And they wanted to find a little bit safer place. And this is where John was from. His mother lived there, so they actually moved to Massachusetts to be closer to her and just find a nice small neighborhood to be in that was safe for everybody.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
No, heck no. But Molly, she was the youngest of 3 kids. She had a older sister, Heather, and she had a brother, John Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But Molly, she was known for being outgoing, Dale.
Yep.
She was popular and very silly.
Yep. Highly athletic.
Yeah, very athletic.
She played 3 sports.
Yeah. And she actually started the girls' soccer team there at her school.
Mm-hmm. Also excelling in softball and basketball.
Yeah. And this is where she was also an honor student.
Yeah. Pull that off.
Yeah, exactly. And she had recently begun dating one of her classmates. She went to the prom with, too.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, but she dated another boy And he was older, but he had graduated and went off to college, and they had broken up, so she had started dating another guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of hard to do that long distance stuff.
It is, and I get it. But now Molly, she had a dream of one day of working with some children.
Yeah,
that was her.
Loved them children.
She did, because her older sister Heather, she'd went off to college, and she had gotten pregnant and had a little girl. And Molly, she just took up with this little girl,
right?
Her niece, yeah,
Michaela.
Yeah, but now in the summer of 2000, Molly had gotten a job as a lifeguard at Cummings Pond. Now, this pond is a man-made pond, but if you look at it on Google Earth, it looks like a lake to me.
Pretty damn big, yeah. To me, ponds looks a little small thing out here in the woods or something,
Yeah.
Little ponds, very small, or fishing pond around here anyway. But yeah, it's a pretty nice sized lake, I thought.
Yeah, you could put a jet ski out there with no problem at all.
Oh, yeah.
There would be people fishing on this pond, and I guess they would get their small boats out there too, but they had a little small area for swimming.
Yeah, it's like a little beach here.
Yeah.
Like a little beach. Swimming area had the buoys, put out where a little swimming area.
But this is where the kids would go. This was just a couple miles from our home too.
Yeah.
But like we said, she'd gotten a job as a lifeguard there because her older brother John had once been the lifeguard there.
Yeah, like the past 3 years previous.
Yeah. So he handed the job down to her.
Right.
And he had taught her how to work the pond, to clean the beach area, to I guess check for snakes is what I've read. And
got it all set up, how to get everything set up, the lifeguard kit and all that stuff. The first aid kit.
And it was also the job of the lifeguard to go by the police station every morning to pick up the walkie-talkie.
Yeah, two-way radio.
Yeah.
For fancy people.
Yeah, so I guess to call in any emergencies or anything like that.
Right, well, they didn't have no cell phone or nothing, so,
Yeah.
So that was her communication in case something would happen.
And it was also the job of her to call the police station every morning when she arrived at the pond.
Right, check in.
Check in, yes. Now, we're moving up to June the 27th of the year 2000. And this is around 9 a.m. And Molly and her mom, they had found out that one of Molly's soccer teammates had been hit by a car.
When she was riding a bicycle.
Yeah. And she'd been hurt pretty bad and was in ICU.
Yeah, that's not good.
No. But Molly was pretty upset on this.
Right, but it was too late to call in for work, and plus they were having some swimming lessons and stuff, and she just made the big decision to go ahead and go to work, being it was only her 8th day on the job.
Yeah.
And that's pretty respectful, especially she's only 16.
Yeah, and they said she was very, had a good work ethic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what I'd read. She took her job serious anyway.
That's very tremendous.
Yeah.
At a young age.
So at about 9:50 that morning, Molly and her mom, they stopped at a local convenience store to grab some bottles of water that Molly was going to need that day. And Molly was also captured on surveillance footage that day to show that she was there at that convenience store. We'll talk about that a little bit later too.
Right.
And then after they made this purchase at the store, they drove to the police station, like we said, to pick up the required two-way radio. Now, Molly and her mom, they arrived at the pond at 10 a.m. And minutes later, the first swimmers of the day got there. Mm-hmm. So they was ready to go swimming. Now, as the parents started getting there with their kids, one of the parents got there and they noticed that Molly wasn't in her station. They had a chair there as a lifeguard chair. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like a lifeguard tower that you'd see at a beach. It was pretty much like a yard chair or a lawn chair sitting out there next to the beach.
Yeah, like a little metal frame chair with like the weaved, I guess what you call it, nylon maybe, mesh looking stuff in it. So it's just a small chair, just a regular old chair sitting there.
But this is where usually the lifeguards sit with all their stuff and the walkie-talkie, and they kept all their stuff they needed for the day. Right. Yeah, like her whistle and everything. But when the mother got there, she, like I said, she noticed that Molly wasn't there, and she noticed that the lifeguard whistle was there and her sandals.
Yeah. And first aid kit and something else, her water bottle.
Yeah, and the first aid kit was open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they just assumed that since Molly was, 16 years old at this time, they just assumed that she just left.
Either that or she was gone somewhere. But the mother, she assumed the position of lifeguard to hang out for a while because somebody needed to be there. But I think after an hour, she's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and she's going to have to leave too.
Right.
They informed Molly's boss of her absence.
Right.
And this was about 11:44 a.m. Molly's boss, via the two-way radio, reported to police that Molly had gone missing.
Yeah, he drove up and said, wonder what's going on, seen all her stuff there. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that, you'd pull up and see all that stuff because she had been there. It's not like she just ditched work,
Yeah. Yeah, but the Warren Police Department didn't take it serious.
Mm-mm.
They just assumed she just ditched work to go hang out with some friends.
Right. Which you'd assume, most 16-year-olds would do stuff like it. Or just go off, run off in the woods or do whatever.
They just assumed she just left.
Right.
And it was about 1 p.m., and this is when Molly hadn't returned to her station. The police notified her parents.
Right. I wonder if they just called her parents to see, is she with you, what's going on or anything, or why the boss didn't call her parents right off the bat.
I don't know.
It's kind of odd, isn't it?
Yeah. But Maggie, her mom, said that her daughter had been dropped off at work earlier that day.
Right, and she should be there, right?
Yeah. Now, when Maggie hung up with the police, she called Heather. This was Molly's older sister, and told her about what was going on, that Molly wasn't at work. And Heather agreed with her mom that something's got to be wrong.
Yeah.
So they were going to meet at the police station. But on the way there, they actually saw each other and they flagged each other down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, she just lived right down the street.
Yeah, that's true. And this is when they were told that there was nothing to be concerned about.
Yeah.
And according to the authorities, Molly was probably upset about her friend being hurt that was in that wreck and had gone to blow off some steam. That's what everybody, the authorities were assuming,
the police were thinking, yeah.
Now, Maggie and Heather, they set to work on looking for what happened to Molly.
Right.
And they checked to see if anyone had visited her friend at the hospital.
Yeah, they called to see if she'd been over there, what's going on. Nope, nothing. Called the boyfriend's house. He hadn't seen her. And he hadn't heard from her all day, actually.
Yeah. And the police, they still weren't concerned.
Mm-mm. The boyfriend wasn't really concerned either.
No.
It's kind of odd to me, though, why nobody was like, oh well. Especially when she was known to not be like that.
Nope. But he did show up at the pond about 2 hours later to help see what was going on. And when they got there, they noticed that her shoes were there next to the chair. And they realized, well, Heather, the older sister, realized that Molly wouldn't go anywhere without her shoes.
Right. If it was off the beach, anyway.
Yeah. As they reported that Molly didn't like the way the ground fell on her feet.
Yeah, she had a thing about that.
Yeah.
Especially if it was something that was going to squish up between her toes. She didn't like that at all.
No. Except she was in the sand or something. That's cool.
Right, yeah. Beach is different.
Yeah. But anytime else, she would have her shoes on.
Right.
But her shoes were left there beside her chair.
Right.
And after talking more with the family, the police officers, they began to think that they were onto something. And they called in the state police to help.
Well, it's something that was way over their head. Like we said, this is a small community.
And they hadn't had anything like this.
Right. So they was like, we don't even really know how to handle this missing person case, so we need to call somebody with experience. Which, give them props for that, instead of like out there going, we got this, we can do it. They're like, no, we better call in somebody who knows what the hell they're doing.
Now, when the state police got there, they thought that maybe Molly had gotten in the pond and drowned. That's what they were saying.
Right.
And this theory, it upset Molly's brother John.
Yeah, family said, hell no, that ain't happening.
And he actually ran into the water and started searching for his sister. Because he was an excellent swimmer. They said he actually went every day to go swimming there.
Yeah. But
they pulled him out.
Well, he swam and searched that pond until the police actually made him get out.
Yeah.
And actually had to pull him out by, the authorities went out there and pulled him out, and so the dive team and boats could get in there and search.
Yeah. But after several hours, they found nothing. And they started searching along the woods, and the search was called off until the next morning. Now, at 6 a.m. on June the 28th.
This is the next day.
Yeah, law enforcement deployed all their units, including a helicopter with infrared imaging and a mounted unit, as well as townspeople initiated their own search parties, and businesses, they printed missing flyers.
If they had a helicopter with infrared imaging, why the hell wouldn't they do that at night? That same night instead of waiting till 6 o'clock next morning.
I don't know. Maybe they couldn't get it in there that time.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But it would make a lot of sense.
But like I said, they started posting missing person flyers on storefronts.
Right.
Now, police, they began to look at a path that led from the beach at Coleman's Pond to a nearby cemetery. Because they thought if someone had abducted Molly, they could have exited this area through this path.
Right. And it's kind of odd. That sounds weird, but what it is, this pond is actually in the middle of a bunch of woods or high growth. And there's lots of trails like hiking trails and walking trails, and maybe even some for like 4-wheelers and stuff. And then there's a path, and then there's a cemetery on the other side of the woods, so there's a path that connects them.
Yeah.
So it's not like the cemetery was out here on the side of the lake.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
And they started investigating this, and they speculated that someone could have faked an injury and abducted Molly. And because that's why they found the first aid kit.
First aid kit was open and laying there. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense if someone would have come up, especially if they came there early, nobody was there, seen her there, and then walk up and then fake an injury, and while she's grabbing the first aid kit or turning her head or whatever, they could have done whatever. Because
this is when Molly's mom, Maggie, remembers seeing a suspicious-looking man at the pond the day before she disappeared.
Right.
Yeah. Now, according to Maggie, that morning had started out like any other. But when she and Molly arrived at the pond, they noticed a white vehicle that was in the parking lot.
Right, and it weirded Maggie out.
It weirded her out pretty good. And this man in the car was watching them.
Yeah.
And he was watching Molly, too.
Yeah, while Maggie was watching her daughter, she looked up and seen this dude was watching her daughter, too. So he's like, wait a damn minute.
And he was just glaring at him.
Right.
But Maggie decided to stay with Molly while she organized the beach area and got everything ready for the day before the swimmers got there.
Right.
And she stayed down there for a while, and then when she decided to leave, the man was still up there in the parking lot.
Right. So she didn't leave.
No.
Because this dude was giving her a bad feeling.
Yeah, he was sitting there smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, which is odd to her, why he's sitting here in the damn parking lot smoking cigarettes.
And when asked for this description, Dale, Maggie described him as about 50 years old with salt and pepper hair. He had dark eyes, a mustache, and had been smoking cigarettes, like we said.
Mm-hmm.
And she just sat there in her car, acting like she was doing something. She wasn't going to leave until he left. But Maggie, she worked with an artist, a sketch artist, to make a composite sketch of this unknown man. And when shown the image, John Jr., Maggie's brother, didn't recognize him.
At all?
No, as a regular at the pond.
Right.
Because he'd been there, working there for 3 years, and he would see everybody coming and going.
Yeah. Anybody who was a regular, he probably knew.
Oh, exactly. And upon learning about the encounter, the police, they set up a roadblock and asked the townspeople about the vehicle. And nobody knew anything.
It was a white vehicle, right?
It was a white vehicle.
White sedan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the district attorney's office, they ordered a search of 125 vehicles from the area.
Right. She didn't know what type it was. She just knew it was a white sedan.
Yeah. But they couldn't determine the type of vehicle Maggie had seen.
Right.
And it didn't result in any kind of leads at all.
It's kind of odd, she was that detailed on what he looked like, but didn't remember what the car was.
Yeah. And from this composite sketch, there were thousands of tips that were called in from all across the United States regarding the man, but they didn't result in anything at all, Dale. And when the police returned to Cummins Pond, they found the scene had been contaminated.
Oh, God, you know what?
Yeah.
Well, nobody thought anything. I mean, all these people were coming, going swimming, and a lot of the woman's been sitting in her chair. I mean, everything.
Yeah, because you don't think anything is a crime scene.
No, definitely not. Not in this neighborhood. Yeah.
There were footprints everywhere, fingerprints. They found a ton of used cigarettes, and they weren't able to find any kind of evidence at all.
Right, that's what I was going to say. I wonder if they looked for cigarette butts to do DNA, but by this time everything had been corrupted.
Yeah, I just wonder if they looked for any cigarette butts outside where that car had been sitting.
That's what I meant,
Yeah. Now, since they didn't have any evidence to work on, the police began to think up theories about what could have happened to Molly. One was that she voluntarily left because there weren't any reported sightings across the country. But her family, they believed that she wouldn't have left her job without telling them.
No, they knew her too good.
Yeah. And another was that she knew her attacker, and her boss, he had an alibi, but her boyfriend didn't have an alibi. He was just at home asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he passed the polygraph test.
Yeah, the boyfriend did pass the polygraph.
Damn, I good.
Yeah.
I'd be nervous as
I'd be scared to death. But they were hoping to uncover some new leads, and investigators looked into area sex offenders.
Mm-hmm.
And they started checking for alibis that proved to be difficult. And many were not gainfully employed.
Right.
And several were called in for polygraphs, and some of them showed signs of deception.
Oh, I'm sure they did. I mean, if you're already a sex offender, now they're calling you in for this, you'd be scared to damn death whether you did anything or not.
Oh, I couldn't pass one. I'd be scared to death.
Yeah.
Detectives also ran through John Sr., this was Molly's dad, some of his old cases. Like I said, he was a probation officer.
Right, I thought about this too.
In case someone could have had taken Molly as an act of revenge or something.
Right.
But most of these people that, he was a probie officer too, they just had kind words to say about him.
Right. He was a real cool guy.
Yeah. All right. Now, in May of 2003, Dale, 2 unrelated tips came in saying Molly had been sighted in Miami, Florida. And investigators were prepared to make a trip down to Florida to follow up on it. And on May the 16th, they received a tip from a retired cop who believed the missing girl's disappearance was related to a 1993 abduction and murder of another young girl. Her name was Holly Perinian. Now, in 1993, Holly and her brother were visiting with their grandma. And this was in Sturbridge, Massachusetts.
Yep.
While out with her brother, she disappeared and only her shoe was found.
Yeah, they had walked up to some neighbor's house who had some puppies to go see the puppies. And then somehow or another they got separated. When they returned, only the brother came back.
Yeah.
And then when everybody went back looking for her, all they could find was her shoe on the side of the road.
Man.
Yeah.
And during this investigation into Holly's disappearance, Molly and her family, they were at church one Sunday morning. And the congregation had asked them to write, I guess, letters to the family.
Right.
To tell them, they were in their prayers and they'd be thinking about them and how they, just give them some well wishes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So Molly, she took it upon herself to write a letter to Holly's family.
Yeah.
I know we got Holly and Molly here, but
she just wrote them a letter and saying she hoped that Holly would soon be returned home safely.
Yeah. Yeah. So Molly at the time was about 10 years old when she wrote this letter. So it's pretty ironic.
Very.
Yeah. But Holly's remains would later be found by hunters in the woods near where she went missing, and her killer was never identified.
And still hadn't, far as we know.
No. But now, given both these girls were blonde and blue-eyed and taken from isolated areas and were in close proximity to each other, the investigators looked into the possibility that the same person who murdered Holly was responsible for Molly's disappearance.
Very possible.
And hunters from the local area were interviewed, with one saying he had seen something kind of suspicious months earlier, but at the time hadn't thought anything of it.
Right.
And going off this hunter's tip, the police went into a wooded area. This is near Palmer, Massachusetts. And they discovered a piece of cloth that appeared to be part of a blue bathing suit. And it was the same color as the one Molly had been wearing when she disappeared. And it was sent away and had tests done on it. I think they actually broke it into 2 pieces and sent it to 2 different labs.
They did, yeah.
To have a test done on it.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that hunter had mentioned it to that detective who had covered Holly's case. And when he heard that, he had him take him to see where it was.
Yes.
And then there was like way out in the woods in a place called Whiskey Hill, and said it was really where it is basically the only place that a hunter would see it because it was so desolate. And I think his name was Tim McGowan.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So when he took him out there, he actually saw this, and then he contacted police, and then they collected it and sent it off.
Yes. And upon discovering this bathing suit, a massive search was done of the area.
Yeah.
And they were covering 500 acres.
Good Lord.
And it was the largest search in Massachusetts history.
Yep.
And 6 days into it, DNA testing proved that the suit belonged to Molly.
Right. It was her.
Yeah. Now, in June of 2003, police searching Whiskey Hill in Palmer, Massachusetts, they discovered a human bone that belonged to someone aged 14 to 20. And after searching, a total of 26 more bones were discovered. And DNA testing confirmed them to be Molly's. But the search brought no evidence that would point investigators to the killer or her cause of death. Now, on August the 2nd, 2003, Molly was laid to rest on what would have been her 20th birthday, Dale. How ironic is that?
I would,
Yeah. It said that those 26 bones were put into a child's casket, and along with some letters from her friends and
her prom dress, and a tiger stuffed animal.
Yeah.
And then that casket was put into a bigger casket.
Yeah. but she was laid to rest. Man. But now, after finding Molly,
and before you take off, they had to wait a while though. When they first found him, they had made him wait because they kept looking to see what they could find.
Yeah.
So even though they discovered and they knew, what had happened, where they knew that she was gone, they still had to sit there and wait for all this to do. And then they basically told them, you don't need to cremate the remains in case something come up later where they needed to have something to test by.
Yeah.
So that's pretty sad.
Yeah, it is. But now, after finding Molly, police believe their suspect to be a white male between the ages of 18 and 50. Wow.
Really?
Who was known to the area through either hunting or fishing.
Well, to that part makes sense, being where it was found.
And he had a history of violence against women. Now, in 2005, there was a Connecticut resident was charged with attempted kidnapping in Connecticut. And for a time, they were briefly under investigation in connection to Molly's case. Mm-hmm. In order to bring in new leads, the Bish family hired a private investigator. His name was Tom Shamshak. Yeah. All right, Dale. Now, over the years, there have been 3 men investigators have looked at.
Yeah, there's been a ton of them, but 3 really stand out.
Yeah.
But nobody's ever been arrested.
No, nobody's been arrested. They've had many suspects.
Lots of, what do you call them? People of
interest.
Yes, persons of interest. That's what I'm looking for.
And just before the 21st anniversary of Molly's disappearance from there at Coleman's Pond, a man by the name of Frank Sumner Sr. Now, Sumner, who was previously convicted of aggravated rape and kidnapping in the 1980s, and after a trial in 1982, he was sentenced to concurrent terms of 15 to 18 years on the rape charge and 9 to 10 years on the kidnapping charge. And with a driving record that indicated a speeding violation in 1998.
Right.
And it appeared that Sumner served 15 to 16 years of that sentence. And it also said that Sumner was known to operate an auto repair shop near there. And from about 2009 to 2012, he operated Elite Auto. This was at 217 Bear Paxton Road there in Rutland. And people who worked with Sumner in the auto industry remembered him as hot-headed, but were surprised to hear that he was linked to Molly's abduction and the killing, in addition to the rape and kidnapping charge. And Sumner's record shows the criminal and civil cases for which Sumner was a defendant or plaintiff, including small claims cases and some money actions too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't the rape charges and stuff, or the stuff he was convicted of, was he was assaulting his girlfriend's daughter.
Yeah.
Of over 100 times.
Yes.
Yes. Even though he had a restraining order, he still showed up even one time in front of the cops, even telling the little girl that he loved her.
Yeah.
So he was kind of obsessed with this. And also, when you said, he had the auto service, he had taken a white car that he had been working on for a spin, is what he told someone, and told him that he had been over to Warren, and then said it was kind of odd that he'd do this because he really didn't have a license to be driving and going out that far. And then when the news came out, he went home and shaved off his mustache, which was weird.
Yeah, very weird.
Especially when you look at the sketch that Maggie gave him.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to post pictures of this sketch too.
Yeah. The guy, he also liked to talk about true crime too, to his girlfriends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he always talking stuff, and then he would, always going and watching court TV and going over all these cases and watching a lot of them over and over. And then he was even known to cut out really weird, crimes and stuff out of newspapers and leave the articles laying around and tell her that's how he's going to kill her, and making all this stuff up. And then when this happened, she wanted to talk to him about the Bish case, and he didn't want to have nothing to do with it.
Wow.
Didn't even want to talk about it. Didn't want to discuss it. Basically said, well, sometimes there's just not any evidence. But he didn't want to talk about it.
Wow.
So that's just creepy as hell.
Mm-hmm. And there was another suspect. His name was Gerald Bastatoni, and he was a convicted child rapist. And investigators had eyed him for a while, as far back as 2011, in connection with Molly Bish and Holly Peranian. And in August of 2011, Bastatoni was found guilty by a jury on 4 counts of rape and abuse of a child. And the crimes happened 20 years prior. and the jury acquitted Bastatoni of 2 counts of rape and child abuse. An investigator said that the rape survivor had ties to Sturbridge and lived in Warren, Massachusetts. That was close to Cummins Pond. And a lot of information links him to both areas, and he is a convicted rapist of a young girl with similar features to Holly and Molly.
Yeah.
This is what investigator Daniel Malley said in 2011. And also, Bastatoni apparently attempted suicide in prison in 2011. And this was following some news reports about the investigator's work, which was also several months after his conviction.
Yeah, he was a suspect. That's when he tried to kill himself.
Exactly.
That's not weird at all.
But Bastatoni was in custody at Lemuel Shattuck Hospital when he died on November 11th, 2014. This is according to the Massachusetts Department of Corrections. And there's another suspect that we're going to talk about a little bit more. His name is Rodney Stanger. Mm-hmm. Now, this cat, some have questioned whether Rodney is he's a former Massachusetts resident. Yep. He could have been involved with this. Stanger used to fish and hunt in the Warren area.
Right there at Whiskey Hill.
Yeah, he also lived in the South Bridge area at the time of Molly's abduction.
Yeah, he lived 0.3 of a mile away from the YMCA where she actually got her lifeguard certificate.
Yeah.
And while she was going there to class, her dad he worked nearby, and he would drop her off for classes and pick her up. And some days she would be early getting out, or some days he'd be working late, and she would walk down to a little coffee shop and wait on him to come pick her up. And a lot of people are saying that maybe this guy saw her there and chatted her up. Mm-hmm. It's very possible.
Yep.
If he lived that close, And he didn't have a white car, but his brother did.
That's right.
Right.
Now, in 2009, Stanger was found competent to stand trial in the death of the girlfriend he had, Crystal Morrison.
Ooh.
And police interviewed Stanger the year prior following a tip, and the spokesman would not comment further. And it appears that Stanger left Southbridge about a year after Molly disappeared.
Yeah, him and his brother left at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Moved to Florida.
Yeah, that's not weird at all.
No. And speaking of killing his girlfriend, it was, I don't really know what all the details are, but I know she was stabbed over 39 times with almost a total decapitation.
Yes.
So it was pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
It was also said that this Crystal Morrison, who hadn't spoken to her sister in over 20 years, and I'm not sure what the reasons were for that, but she had called her sister and told her she thought she was going to be murdered by this guy. And then kind of went into some other weird stuff, and then she kept talking about Bonnie's bird. And she said, well, what about the bird? And he said, well, the bird. What's the bird's name? And she said, well, I just told you yesterday what the bird's name is. Why would you be asking me again? She goes, just, what's the bird's name? And she said, the bird's name is Molly. And she goes, exactly. And she goes, what? And then it kind of hit her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, no. She goes, yep. And so it was kind of odd because the day before when she had called her, she had asked for the phone numbers for the FBI and the Massachusetts State Police. And both of them living in Florida. She said, you don't need the Florida police? She goes, no, I need Massachusetts. I want them to come here and talk to us about some murders. And then with that, on top of the thing about the bird, man, it was really weird. And I don't know, it's kind of blew my mind. And then she was actually killed later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very ironic, dude.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they got the white car. He hunted in the woods right there. He lived near there. It was just plenty of opportunity for this guy to be the man.
Mm-hmm.
And the bad part is like all three of these dudes kind of look like the drawing.
They do.
Some more than others, but they're all similar. You can make a case for either one of them.
Well, when they went to this trailer to look for his stuff, they found an ID of his. They said it was a fishing license.
Either a fishing license or a firearm ID or a firearm license or whatever, but whatever. And no matter what it is, they found one.
Man, he had darker hair back then, and he looked just like the composite.
Yeah, said her words were, it looks like he could have sit for a drawing or sit for the photo of the drawing. Mm-hmm. It was that close. And
he said also they found in the trailer there some things that would belong to little girls.
Yeah, like some hair ties and stuff.
Yeah, hair bows and barrettes and things like that.
And said this is old Bonnie going down there looking through the stuff after her sister was murdered to get her stuff, and he found out and said it all looked like it was for a younger girl than her sister, so it was just kind of weird to her that he would have a box full of these hair things and stuff like that for young girls.
Yeah. But he claims to know nothing about Molly's disappearance. Mm-hmm. And even his attorney says he's innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, but when the investigators went in there to talk to him about it and then showed her the picture, he wouldn't even look at it. He glanced at it and pushed it back to him. He wouldn't look at it. Didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's not weird at all there either.
No, not at all.
Mm-mm. All right, now, Dale, in 2013, there was a new racetrack. It's like a motorsports complex that was being developed in this area near where Molly's remains were found.
Right.
So the investigators, they came in and they educated the construction crew on what to look for.
Right. I think it was pretty cool of the crew to actually get in there and pay attention and, really be respectful of what they're looking for.
Because this was a heavily dense wooded area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they informed the crew on what Molly had been wearing and what they might find as far as human remains go. Now, they even brought cadaver dogs in to see if there were any scents that were released into the air.
Right.
Yeah. And in 2014, there was a partially buried bag that was found underneath a log in the woods near this sportsman's club in Palmer by a private investigator.
Mm-hmm.
And the area was across the road from where Molly's remains were found. And inside the bag were a pair of plaid boxer shorts that were similar to the ones Molly had been wearing the day she went missing.
Right. They went back and looked at that video that you were talking about earlier at the convenience store and seen it was exactly the pair that she had on.
Yeah.
Right.
And later that year, the judge dismissed a lawsuit brought forward by a former police officer against the Worcester District Attorney's Office, who said that he deserved a $100,000 reward for leading investigators to the remnants of Molly's bathing suit back in 2003. And he claimed to have learned about the bathing suit from a hunter who saw it, and his lawyer said some posters related to the case had indicated the reward money would be paid for information leading to Molly. Yeah. But according to the district attorney, the posters were put up by an independent foundation, and law enforcement made it clear that the reward was for information leading to an arrest and conviction.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not to Molly.
Right.
But now, in 2014, the Bish family, they held a campaign called Just One Piece.
Yeah, they named it that because it's just saying basically it could just take one more piece to crack this case.
Yeah. Now, the family eventually hired a new private investigator. Her name was Sarah Stein, who told them the authorities would be searching for the car Molly's killer could have been driving. And she received a tip that revealed a car was similar to the one Maggie had seen the day that she had dropped Molly off at the pond.
Right.
And it was buried in a former campground site in the Brookfield area.
That's not odd.
A car buried, yeah. And investigators used ground-penetrating radar to search for the car and found compelling anomalies at multiple areas of interest that led them to search the campground again a few days later. And this had led Sarah to believe something was buried in that area.
Well, hell, if it was a car, wouldn't you think you'd know it?
You'd think, yeah. And in 2017, volunteers went to the campground to search for the suspected car. While state troopers were present, it was not considered an official part of all volunteer effort.
Right.
But according to Heather, Molly's sister, a man who physically resembles the composite sketch still lives in the area. He is a hunter and a fisherman and has access to the campground through friendship with the property owner.
Right. And they also have the heavy equipment needed to bury a car was there also available to him at this campground.
Yes. That's crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
But since Molly's murder, Heather, she has taken on the responsibility of maintaining Molly's foundation. It's the Molly Bish Foundation. And, man, they advocate for missing people. They set up these kits for identification to help.
We said that coming week when they were wanting a great photo, like a head and shoulders photo, and realized they didn't really have what they needed.
Yeah, and she said that actually 1 in 6 kids are recovered or found, and they are found because they have a photo.
Right.
Yeah. So that was their initiative to get that going.
Yep. His family's awesome, man. Maggie and John Senior set up the Molly Bish Foundation. All kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, it's dedicated to improving safety and awareness for all kids.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Maggie got the Amber Alert pushed into Massachusetts here.
Yeah. That's awesome, too.
Yeah.
And Molly's case has been profiled on shows such as Disappeared, America's Most Wanted, Unsolved Mysteries, and 48 Hours.
Right.
So it's a big case in Massachusetts.
It's a big case, and nothing's ever found.
No.
Nobody's ever been arrested. Just plenty of suspects and a lot of mystery.
No.
And still open today.
Yep. And in October of 2018, the guy that Molly was dating, his name was Stephen Lucas. He died in a car crash.
Man.
In 2018.
A lot of tragedy here.
I know. John Jr., this is Molly's brother. Since then, he has become a EMT in memory of his sister.
Wow.
He also cites his parents' humanitarian work as an inspiration to him.
Right, yeah, and her dad and her mom really worked hard to do a lot of stuff, and I think, according to Heather, her dad just put all this on him. I guess being the dad of the family, it's his job to protect everybody, and he just let it eat him up a good bit, and then said that he had a stroke.
I think that was in 2007 when he had a stroke.
And then after that's when she kind of took over all this, but she said really, even though it was a stroke, and it was a pretty bad stroke, that it really was a blessing kind of to him, because he could let some of that go. He wasn't just beating himself up so bad over it. He could be able to be a dad and be a grandfather to her kids and stuff. And she took over all this other work.
Yeah. But police believe that Molly Bish was a victim of a homicide.
Well, you think?
Yeah. Pitiful, man. It's just sad. It really is. This girl had so much to give and so smart and a beautiful young girl.
Yeah. Highly athletic and very smart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do all those 3-4 sports and to be a lifeguard and also make an honor roll. I mean, she's smart.
Yep. But her remains were also laid to rest on her birthday.
Yeah, that gets me every time you say it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, man, we move at a different day.
Yeah. In this case, man, there is so much irony.
Yeah, all over.
And Molly writing the letter to Holly's family.
Right.
Yeah. And then this private investigator investigating Holly's case gets involved with Molly's case. Yeah. It's just a lot of irony.
Yeah, it's a lot of intertwined stuff.
It is.
It still ended up being a sad story.
But this is still unsolved to this day.
It is.
And if anybody has any information regarding this case, they are asked to contact the Massachusetts State Police at phone number area code 508-453-7575. Or you can contact your local Crime Stoppers, or you can contact us.
Mm-hmm.
Either one you want to do. But anyway, Dale, that is the case of Molly Bish.
Whew, man.
Yeah. I hope I can find some peace one day.
Yeah. Pretty sad. I think a couple of them suspects are already passed away.
Yeah, the only one living is that Rodney Stanger, and I think he is eligible for parole in 2031, I think. Yeah.
Well, I hope we don't get it.
Nope, hope we don't either. I hope something's found. And also the Bish family, they're pushing legislative reform, and they've got a bill proposed to have familial DNA to be used in connection to some of these cases.
Yep.
With CODIS.
Yeah.
They're pushing that really hard.
Well, I hope you get it.
So if anybody in the Massachusetts area is eligible to vote for that bill to have familial DNA be used.
Call your legislator.
Yes. And that can have